Welcome to the 11th episode of Restartnaija. Many people have described Nigeria as a lawless nation, while some others insist that the laws we have in Nigeria are only meant to oppress the poor and then to protect the rich, the government officials and their allies. In our last episode, we discussed the role of representatives in a democratic setting. We noted that the imposed constitution of Nigeria has turned the supposed representatives in Nigeria into accomplices of exploitation. In this episode, we shall discuss the role of the judiciary in the making of a better society. Before we continue, I want to tell you a story. One day, God threw down several human beings into a society. When they fell into the society, they were faced with hunger, with thirst, nakedness, and lack of shelter. So they needed to find resources to satisfy these needs that they have. So they saw fruit trees which had wonderful fruits. So they began picking the fruits, the leaves, and sticks in order to make shelter for themselves, to make clothing from the leaves, and then to eat the fruits. As they were collecting fruits and leaves from these fruit trees, some people got afraid that others will pack more, making the fruits and the leaves to finish. So they began to struggle to get more for themselves. They began fighting and struggling even harder. This struggle for fruits and the resources degenerated into terrible bloody fights that some of them began to die. When they could not continue with this struggling and fighting, the fear in dying, they had to agree among themselves to cooperate in order to protect, to develop, to multiply, and to distribute these resources for peace and harmony in their society. After this agreement, they distributed roles to individuals in the society according to their talents. Pruners, harvesters, gatherers, distributors, even the planters. So they assigned different roles to individuals so that everybody will have something to contribute to the development of these resources. They documented these roles in a book and handed it over to one of the respected people in the community, known as Leviathan. Leviathan was made to be in charge of interpreting the people's agreement and also judging the people on how they discharge their agreed duties for reward or punishment. When the Leviathan notices that there is a problem with the agreement, he reviews it and proposes to the people to adjust the agreement so that it will bring more peace to the community. In a democratic society, law is a codified agreement between the members of a society about their future obligations and rights for common good in the society. This law is handed over to a group of respected people known as judiciary so that they will interpret this people's agreement and also judge the faithfulness of the people to their own agreement. Also, the judiciary reviews the laws and advises the people to discuss and make necessary amendments for justice and peace in the society. Unfortunately, this process of formation is different in Nigeria because the ethnic communities in Nigeria never agreed to become one. This absence of the people's agreement in the formation of Nigeria gave birth to crisis, violence, and underdevelopment in Nigeria. So, what is the Nigerian law? Nigerian law, which derives from the Nigerian Constitution, is a group of convenient conjectures by political offices that were created by the colonial masters. This is not in any way close to true democratic society where the people's agreement forms the constitution. However, this same Nigerian constitution has been used to resolve many cases since its inception. Are the people above the law? Once the law or constitution has been legitimately made, no individual or group of persons is above the law. However, since the law is a product of people's agreement, a legitimate law is not above the people who had made it. Instead, the people can decide to change the law when they feel necessary. When the law is not from the people can still decide to bring a new law that will guide them in their way of life. What is the judiciary? Judiciary is the custodian of the people's agreement. It's a group of ministers who have been appointed by the society to interpret and review the people's agreement and to judge individual cases and to resolve them. Should the judiciary accept whatever is sent to them as the people's agreement? No. The judiciary has to evaluate whatever is sent to them to see whether it is legitimate in itself. This is to check whether the agreement was made out of free will and based on complete disclosure of all the necessary information for making an agreement. Also, the judiciary reviews and expounds the people's agreement. This is in order to help them to resolve wider scope of cases within the society. Should the judiciary be able to reject a constitution on grounds of illegitimacy? No, the judiciary cannot reject the constitution that has created their office. The people themselves are to convene a national conference where they discuss constitutional issues before agreeing to be. Hence, a new constitution has to come from the agreement of the ethnic communities that make up Nigeria. This agreement is necessary to validate even the first sentence in the present constitution, we the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In our next episode, we shall discuss the role of the executive, the law enforcement agencies, in making of a new nation. Please like and share this episode so that more Nigerians will get to understand this and be ready to work when it's time for us to get a new nation. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm still your host, Chukwunwike Inekwechi.